One of the things I've learned across my journey is the power of making pivots. There's really so much more in each and any one of us than we might set out to believe at the launch of our careers. There's so much we can learn when we allow ourselves to reach out tangentially and not always think about what is the next step in the ladder for me virtually.
Have you ever met someone that each time you had the opportunity to interact, you became more and more engaged and enthralled and amazed in all that she has done in her life? That is the experience I had speaking with and reading the chapter of my guest today. Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I bring you inspirational stories to help you figure out and identify what's next in your life. I am so excited for you to meet my guest today. I'm the founder of Her C-Suite and have had the incredible opportunity to get to know Nancy Hedlund through Her C-Suite, but it wasn't until we wrote Power of What's Next, Bold Moves by Design together that I really got to know her on a personal level, and you will too in this conversation. I know that you are going to get so much out of hearing from her. She's the managing director of MedNavigate, LLC, and she empowers biotech, medical device, diagnostics, and health IT companies to successfully launch new technologies and achieve market growth. I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. So let's get started now. Nancy, I'm so excited to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Natalie. I'm so excited to talk about our upcoming book.
We're going to be talking about that also about your chapter. But before we get into that, I want to talk about you. You've had an incredible career, and we'll talk about that because that's part of what is in your chapter. But I'd love for you to share just a high level what you're doing now and what you're excited about.
I'm a solopreneur. I run a company that's called MedNavigate. And what my company does is work with life science companies. And by that, I mean pharmaceutical and biotech, medical device, and diagnostics to help them crystallize their value proposition and to put together the evidence package that they might need to help their product get reimbursed. I work with these companies to really understand the unmet market need, to discuss with them and help them plan for what it might take to fill in the gap, and then to put together the evidence package that needs to be submitted to a payer at the end of the day. So it's a lot of fun. I help to bring new technologies to market, and I'm even doing this with a couple of health IT companies, which is a lot of fun too.
So I've known you for for quite a few years now. I'm pretty sure we met through HBA, and then we met professionally at a company. And then now in Her C-Suite, you've been in Her C-Suite for a long time. And I've just seen all these different facets to the mosaic of your life, but I didn't know what I read in your chapter, which is so powerful. Our book together is Power of What's Next, Bold Moves by Design. I want to just talk about what was that like for you writing your chapter and thinking about how you've gotten to this moment?
It really was a period of self-reflection. And part of why I decided to go on this journey with you is the time in my life is right to have that self-reflection as I think about what I've accomplished, what I've enjoyed, what's been more of a challenge, but yet through those challenges, I've learned and grown. And so it was a chance to really look back, think about my life in chapters. I made a number of pivots along the way, and I talk about that in the book. And some of the pivots were by choice. Other pivots were because the company was sold or a division was closing. But throughout, it's what I really found and what I've had others tell me is a theme of resilience. And I think that's what's important to communicate to all of our readers, whether they be someone more senior in their career or whether they be someone more junior that's just starting out. We can't always map out our careers in advance. And sometimes if we try to do so, it's going to backfire on us. What I realized, and it kind of really set home as I was writing my chapter, is just thinking about what I've learned and how I've grown in each segment. And that's the takeaway that I really want readers to walk away with is, not everything's planned. And sometimes we run into some roadblocks that interfere with what we're hoping to do, or we run into a personal challenge. And for me, that certainly was the case and set me back for a period of time. But that's okay because with those challenges, we grow in new ways, we take on new skills, and we bring all those learnings with us. So it's really exciting to be at this point in my life where I can be creative and put together what I've learned back in the hospital setting when I was practicing as a pharmacist, what I've learned when I was working with health IT companies and integrations and doing product marketing. My experience leading a professional services team is we consulted to over 500 hospitals and then working within pharma to really help build out the evidence to support the value proposition. So today I'm fortunate to be able to mesh all these things together in a way that really resonates with how I think about a problem. And I really enjoyed bringing the skill set to companies. I've got a couple of companies I just started working with this past month that are a little bit earlier in the game, and it's so much fun to look at what they've done, what they've accomplished to date, and help them map out where they want to go. So I'm excited, and it was a fun experience writing the book or writing the chapter in the book. Although it was a little overwhelming, I have to admit, when I first got started.
I agree. And this was my second anthology, and I had the benefit of writing one already, but it's the same process each time, I will tell you. Because when you are writing nonfiction, so you're writing personal, reflections, it can feel really vulnerable. And you shared a lot of really key insights about your life. And it also gives us such a appreciation for you as a person and as a leader, as an innovator, as a mom, all those things. And I just really enjoyed. So I want to thank you because I enjoyed every aspect of your chapters that you shared. And I also think it's really inspiring how you decided to get different positions, but also, I believe, if I'm recalling correctly, and if I'm not, tell me, Nancy, but I remember that you went and got another degree, like not in your 20s when people do things like that. You exemplify courage. We talked about resilience, but that's really courageous. So, talk a little bit about that and why you decided to do that.
I did go back to school in my 40s, and so definitely was the oldest person in my graduate class. I didn't really realize it at the time. I knew what I was doing was retooling to give myself skills that I believed would take me through to the end of my career. I'm looking back, it was really a period of conscious retooling. I knew the market was changing. In the pharmacy space, the degree structure was also changing. I had a 5-year degree in pharmacy, which was called a bachelor's, and the market has changed to a 7-year degree. While I could have gone that route, at this point in my career, that's not where my interest was taking me. My interest was taking me more into understanding how to work with data to understand patient need, demonstrate patient value, and really understand how well our interventions were working. So when I started out, I started taking classes one at a time. And when I took my first class, I had no inclination to go back for a graduate degree. But I have to admit that once I was sitting in the classroom and I was competing with much younger students and I was doing well and I was enjoying learning, I kind of got hooked. At the same time, I was with a company that was going through a remediation process with the FDA. So that meant at that point in time, the company could not ship out product. The remediation had been going on for a period of time. And from what I knew, it was going to continue to go on for a period of time. So I also suspected that there would be upcoming layoffs. So for me, it was really looking forward. It was planning ahead versus reacting to what happened. And I will admit it was a much longer journey than I ever envisioned setting out. I had in my mind that I was going to do the whole thing in 3 to 4 years. It took 7. Now, several of those were very part time as I was working full time and raising a family. But it was an interesting journey, and it definitely equipped me to think differently and has allowed me to do what I'm doing today.
The family piece, I think, is really important for women to think about. We are juggling a lot of hats. And in your mid 40s, I'm guessing, what were the ages of your kids at that time? They were probably teenagers, or where were they?
Yes. So my oldest was in her freshman year of college. My youngest would have been probably fifth grade.
Wow.
And then I had two kids that were eighth graders because I have twins in the middle. So my husband did a lot. He really stepped up. The kids were understanding. I have to admit, at the time, my oldest was not thrilled with her mom being in college at the same time she was, because I was taking some of her thunder per se, even though I was trying to stay in the background. But it was a very busy time, and it was, trying to do homework as I'm sitting at a volleyball meet on the weekend, and obviously doing homework late at night. But certainly it was my family supporting me and my husband chipping in, really making sure the meals were put on the table, the groceries were bought, and the laundry was done, that allowed me to focus and do what I did.
For our listeners, if you're in your mid career, I want you to feel encouraged by Nancy's story because a lot of times we might not take that leap because we hear a voice and we're like, "Wow, I can't because I have 4 kids, my goodness, and I'm working full time and all the things, but there is always a way if you open yourself up, and that's one of the things we talk about in the book is open the windows, and I feel like you opened the window to possibilities and you persisted for 7 years and you so congratulations on that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And also going forward in your career, and now you are leading the way in a new way. And we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the podcast, but you are doing really interesting and exciting things that I think light you up. So, talk a little bit about how all of those things have led you into what you're doing now, because I think it's very interesting.
I grew up in a small business on a family farm. And when I first left the farm, which was 7 days a week and really no time for vacations, I had no interest in owning my own business. I was going to be an employee somewhere. I was going to have holidays off. I was going to have weekends off and really have control of my own time. And I certainly was an employee for many years, but there was always that desire to have something that I could grow and mold. And that was part of what really led me back to grad school, was that desire to equip myself with skills that could allow me to set out and have my own business. So it was a little bit of risk when I got started. And I think part of what prompted me was the pandemic. I mean, we all are thinking about, what do we want to do, what's important. And I was at a position of, do I want to look for a different job, or do I really want to grow my own business? At that point in time, I think many of us were having, kind of come to Jesus conversations with ourselves as to what's important. And the conversation I had with myself is, what's holding you back? It's like, Nancy, either get your butt out there and get started, or stop talking about it, because you're not getting any younger and it takes time to grow a business. So I did. What was fortunate at that time is you could work virtually, which allowed me to reach out to a number of people I've known in the past and get started with different projects. At the same time, it was also a little bit of a challenge, because it's hard to build relationships virtually, especially with someone that you haven't met in the past. But for me, it's been a good journey. When you're a solopreneur, there's always ups and downs. And at some point in time, I likely will have a small team. I'm not looking to grow a team of 50, but a team of 3 or 4 to really help me take on higher volumes of business could be a good thing. Today, I work with subcontractors, and I have met some amazing people out there that, similar to myself, have worked in very interesting positions, equipped themselves with amazing skills, and are also consulting. So there's a wonderful network out there for people that are choosing to consult, to really develop relationships with other peers that can help you form teams that you can take out and do business with. And that's been really exciting, because I've learned not only from a consultant peer, but I also get to participate in a client engagement. So for me, it's been continued learning, which I always enjoy, but it's also been working with some amazing and really committed and dedicated people.
I think what's really unique about, and maybe it was the pandemic that opened this up. I know for myself with partnerships and collaborations, you bring best in class opportunities to the client because you are assembling people that are experts and subject matter experts in these different verticals that then collectively you're able to solve the unmet need that the client has versus before they might have traditionally maybe gone to one kind of bigger company, but not gotten that same individualized focused attention because each of your subject matter experts can come in and do the things that they need on a level that is much more personal, don't you think?
It's much more personal. And for my companies I work with that are, smaller to mid-sized businesses, It's also at a price point that they would not be able to get with a larger firm for the level of experience we're bringing. We can do that because I don't have brick and mortar overhead and I don't have an external sales team that I have to fund. And so I'm able to pull together, very senior experience that I handpick from different industry verticals, depending on the client. And we're able to assemble a team that can really get out of the gates from the start with a client and move a project quickly and go down the journey together. So yes, it's really been an opportunity to form teams of very high caliber people that are right for the project at hand and typically for a price point that works with my clients.
As you think about where you're going next, because that's what our book is about, I know in her C suite, you are in our boards program and entrepreneur, and you're bringing all the portfolio life and career together. And you and I have talked about this about now we have the ability to fill our slices in the way that lifts us up. What are some of those slices that you're excited about that you're doing now and then you're looking to the future to do?
But for the near term, I'm really working on growing my business. I'm also working on really identifying a focus for my business that will allow me to hone resources in more of a specific area versus trying to be incredibly broad, which I think will make it easier on myself as well in terms of really getting into engagements and turning engagements around efficiently. I do have interest in being on boards. I put that a little bit in the back seat right now as I've been focusing heavily on growing my business. But I do think there's value I can bring to companies, particularly life science companies and health tech companies that need to understand the industry, need to understand the hospital market, the pharma market, the interactions in between. I think I definitely could bring in lend value. So I am doing some advisory work for companies today. So one step shy of a board seat, but certainly board seats are something in the future that I would like to go after. And I think there's much I could bring.
I agree. And I can't wait. I'm just so lucky that I get to be around you and see all the things. And we've been taking this journey together almost at the same time because we both left our corporate roles almost at the same time. And so it's just been really amazing to have grown together in our businesses, and seeing what you're doing inspires me to think, okay, well, maybe I can do that too. And so for the listener, if she's sitting listening to this and thinking, I don't know if I can leave my corporate role, or I just did, what does it feel like? What kind of advice would you give to her?
The time's certainly got to be right. And for the listener, I also want them to think about what they want to do. For instance, I chatted with a finance professional that I met through a networking group about a month ago, who her role had been downsized through an acquisition and she's looking for new jobs, but also considering consulting. And after talking with her, a couple things I brought forward, I was asking her, do you want to be in the driver's seat making the decision? Or are you comfortable being on the sidelines advising as to what you think might work best? And as we were talking, she'd been in an ops role, senior financial role for a period of time. For her, I don't think her drive right now is to be a consultant. I think, she will be happiest finding her next employed position. So I would encourage the reader to think about, what do you want to do? Do you want to help companies succeed from the outside? Or do you want to be inside the day to day of a company itself? Because it's two different mindsets. Some people can switch between, others not. So that's the first thing I would ask the listener to think about. The second thing is your financial position, because it does take time to get started. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There are ways to take long term subcontracts to build in some revenue. I did that on a 50% basis with a company for a year to build in some revenue while you're growing your business. So there are ways to bring revenue in the door quickly to supplement your client buildup, but it definitely is a ramp up. For me, at this stage in life, and I think we talked about this, Natalie, my house is finally paid for, and my kids are all through college. We do have one, final wedding we're helping pay for, but so some of the big chapters are behind me in terms of financial expense, which has given me a little bit of more freedom to weather the ups and downs. I mean, certainly there's opportunity to get out there and make a very solid living as a consultant, but it is going to be a little bit more variable across the first few years. So you need to be in a position that you can weather that, whether it's through your spouse, whether it's because of savings, whether you have a sideline kick on top of it that helps you get through. But I'd really encourage the listener to think about, what do I want to do? What fulfills me? And, where am I equipped financially on this path? Does it make sense for me at this point in time? And Natalie, it's certainly been a pleasure watching you grow and your business grow and thrive as well. When we all get started, we don't know what we don't know. And then very quickly on the way, we start to learn what we didn't know. It's really exciting to see you grow and thrive as well and be a partner with you along the way.
Well, I just appreciate you so much, Nancy. And I hope that the listener walks away, they cannot wait for August 5th because I can't say it enough. Like your chapter, it just really inspires you to think, wow, all these different things. And yet, despite everything, resilience, persistence, vision, it's all possible. You just have to take it one step at a time, which is what you did. And I'm so glad that you were in the chapter with me and are in the book and part of this collective. I can't wait for our launch, which is August 5th. So that's going to be really exciting. And all the things that we get to collaborate on in the future. I love it all. So thank you for being here. If people want to know more about you and all the exciting things you're doing, where should they go to find you?
So they certainly can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Nancy Hedlund. Happy to connect, as well as my business's website is www.mednavigate.com. So certainly reach out either place, and I'd be happy to connect.
I will have all of that in the show notes, and I can't wait for August 5th. It's right around the corner when this releases. It won't be that far away. So thank you for being on the show today. Thanks for being here.
It's been my pleasure, Natalie.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. This episode is coming out right before the launch of our ebook. Please visit hercsuite.com and find out all the details. And we're having a launch party at noon on August 5th. I hope you'll join us. And if you are trying to figure out what's next, we are here for you. We have an amazing network of women that are entrepreneurs, board directors, and navigating their portfolio careers. I cannot wait to see you, I hope, in her C-suite. And as always, keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.